They went on a daytime hike in Panama and never came back. Chris Kremers and Lisa Ann Froon were two young women traveling abroad on what was meant to be a meaningful and carefully planned trip. But on April 1st, 2014, they disappeared after hiking a trail near the town of Boquete. What followed, including phone records, photographs, and partial remains, has made this one of the most debated disappearance cases in the world. To this day, no one can agree on what truly happened. Chris Kremers was 21 years old. Lisa Ann Froon was 22. They were both from the Netherlands and had traveled to Panama as part of a 6-week trip. The goal of the trip was to learn Spanish and volunteer with local children. Friends described them as responsible, organized, and cautious. They kept regular contact with their families, planned their days carefully, and documented much of their trip with photos. This was not a reckless adventure. It was something they had prepared for. On April 1st, they decided to go on a hike near Boquete. The trail they chose was called Pianista Trail. The Pianista Trail begins as a well-known path often used by tourists. The early portion of the trail is clear, maintained, and scenic. But after reaching a summit point, the trail continues into dense jungle and becomes far more remote. This is where conditions change quickly. That morning, Chris and Lisa Ann began their hike late, sometime after 11 a.m. They wore light clothing, carried a single backpack, and brought 2 phones and a camera. Photographs taken during the hike show them smiling and relaxed. Nothing in the photos suggests distress. The last confirmed photo of Chris was taken just after 1 p.m. After that moment, there are no more images of them alive. Later that afternoon, emergency calls were made from both of their phones. Multiple attempts were made to reach emergency services. However, the area has little to no signal. Over the next several days, the phones were repeatedly turned on and off. This behavior suggests someone was trying to conserve battery life while still hoping for a signal. At one point, incorrect PIN codes were entered into one of the phones. This raised questions. Was someone injured? Was one of them trying to access the other's phone? Eventually, both phones stopped being used entirely. When the women failed to return, search efforts began. Local authorities, volunteers, and later international teams searched the area. The jungle terrain made the search difficult. Heavy rainfall, steep ravines, and thick vegetation limited how far searchers could safely go. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of the women was found. For weeks, there were no answers. 2 months later, a local woman discovered a backpack near a river miles from the trail. Inside the backpack were both phones, the camera, sunglasses, and cash. Nothing appeared damaged by water. When investigators reviewed the camera, they found something unsettling. Photos taken during the night showed darkness, rocks, tree branches, and what appeared to be attempts to use the camera flash as a light source. The images did not show faces. They appeared disorganized, as if taken in panic or desperation. Months later, partial remains believed to belong to both women were discovered. No clear cause of death could be determined. Authorities concluded that the women likely became lost and died due to exposure or injury. However, many questions remain. Why were the belongings in such good condition? Why were the night photos taken the way they were? How far did they travel after leaving the trail? Some believe this was a tragic accident. Others believe there is more to this story. What happened to Chris Kremers and Lisa Ann Froon remains unresolved. And it is that uncertainty that keeps this case discussed to this day. Cases like this are difficult because there are no clear answers. Every piece of evidence seems to raise another question. And without definitive conclusions, the truth may never be fully known. What happened on that hike remains one of the most haunting mysteries surrounding this case.